everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is our next interview for our Black History Makers series. And I thank you guys so much for joining us. Today we have, y'all, I love me some Gail Dudley. That's who we talking to today, y'all. We talking to Gail Dudley. This woman is a rock star. Gail is an author. She's a speaker. She's a coach. She's everything, and she's everything to me. And I just love her. And I want y'all to get to know Gail. Gail, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us about you. Tell us about what you do. I'm excited to hear some stuff that maybe I don't even know. So yeah, let's go, girl.
Girl, stop it. First of all, thank you for inviting me to the table to even share. Let me see. Where do I start? I have so many different layers, and that really comes from my grandfather who had so many different layers, and my father who has so many different layers. I have 4 siblings, but I'm the one that's a lot like my grandfather who's has now passed away, and my father, where I'm always doing multiple things. It's like God just wired me this way. So I'm the host of News in Motion, which is a live broadcast Monday through Friday at 7:25 a.m. Eastern on the Facebook page, where I give about 25 to 30 minutes of relevant commentary of news with a call to action. We always have a call to action. And then I also mix it with the inspirational message. So that happens. We're now over 150 episodes on that. I kicked off a podcast called Something Mimosas in December. So I'm now up to my 10th episode on that. And we just really have a great time. Every Friday it releases. And then I do my publishing. And my publishing, I used to be a publisher. And to some degree I still am, but I have moved more to now coaching and consulting people who are wanting to write and release a book and be a self-publisher. If they need an accountability coach or someone to review their manuscript to see if they have connected all the dots. So a lot of things with media. And as you know, I'm also now a silent partner, if you will, with Ready Publication. That's a magazine that my daughter and I launched back in 2016. Mm-hmm. And she now heads all of that herself. I turned all that over to her. And that publication got into 40 countries. So that has also helped with the books and the publishing and the media and the hosting and all that. So I just love life. Wife, daughter, I have 2 children, we're in ministry. So I'm also that ordained pastor and have the license to show it. So
all right. So look, what I know I want to talk a little bit more about, because a lot of people are wanting to write books now.
Okay. Yep.
A lot of people are wanting to write books now. And I really would like you to give your take on how can someone get started, and then how can you help them if they want to start writing a book? What are some tips that you can give and so forth with regard to writing a book?
Sure, I would love to give you all the information on that. Let's see, where do we start? First of all, know your premise. What's the premise of your book? So you have to do some research and some background. A lot of people, what they miss identifying what's trending. So like for right now, people are writing a lot about remote work, remote learning. They're talking about how to balance work, family life, and their children who are being homeschooled. They're balancing how to do the whole remote with them on meeting calls with their companies, corporations, their work, and their children. So people are really doing a lot of writing on self-care. Mm-hmm. How do I do this? How do I balance that? So you really have to identify what it is that you are passionate about and what it is you want to write about. Do you have enough content? People think that they can just sit at the computer and start writing. That is so not true. Now, people will get you to believe that, but that's not true. So one thing that I encourage people to do is to start with every morning, if you're wanting to write, use 1,000 words. And I didn't come up with this. A friend of mine shared this with me years ago. Every morning, write out 1,000 words. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about sentence structure. Don't worry about if you spelled it right. Just get 1,000 words on paper. And then every Friday or whatever day, go through and start cleaning it up. But even before you do that, know what your premise is. So put together a book mapping strategy. What is your strategy? What will be the chapters that you will write? How are you going to write? Is this going to be in third person? Is it first person? Or is it a nonfiction book or a fiction book? What is it? Is it a memoir? Are you teaching somebody how to do something? Once you do that, then it's difficult now to go to the library, but go through the books that you may have and look at how books are put together. Now, don't follow their formula because you're different, you're unique, but get some idea of what's out there. On your social media, you can get so much information from social media. See what it is that people are talking about. And so then you come back in your book strategy. What problem are you solving? What are you doing, or what are you speaking into? And then you really start building it. You always want to think about your cost, your investment. If you're going to pitch a piece to a traditional publishing house, which is really difficult right now, I tell people go the self-publishing route, and then if a publishing house picks it up, that's great. Yes, you can still pitch to people, but that's taking a long time today. And there's a lot of publishing houses that are not even accepting pitches right now. But if you want to do the self-publishing way, think about the investment involved. And people do not think about this. It's like you want to have a book editor. Some people think that I'm gonna just get an editor. There's a difference between an editor and a book editor. Those are two totally different people. It's not an English teacher editing your work. It is a book editor editing your work. So what is the investment in that? What's the investment of the graphic design? So many people mess that up. The other thing, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you in our short time, but another thing that people do, they see an image or they have a picture or something they wanted to put on the front of their book. Okay, well, I encourage you to go to a bookstore, and I actually do classes on this. I encourage people to go to the bookstore and spend about 90 minutes in the bookstore. Go to the section of where your genre would be, what you're writing on, and look and see what books people are pulling out of that bookshelf. Look at the cover. Look at what's drawing them. Are there colors that's drawing it? Is it a picture? Is it writing? Is it the title? What's drawing them? And you can normally see a trend of what people are pulling off that shelf. You can normally see a trend of what books are facing forward and not side by side.
Wow.
Look at that information. There's so much work to do beyond just writing.
Right.
And then, I've audited people's covers. People sometimes are so drawn to their cover because they like it. And I have to sometimes say, it's not about what you like, it's what about the people are going to read. Now, if you just want books in your closet or in your garage or your basement, then that's what you do. But if you're trying to sell books, you have to speak to that audience.
So when you're telling people to think about, what their premise is, it's like, you're basically saying, what is it do you want to write about? But can people write about like anything? It sounds to me like people can write about anything, right? I think you and I were messaging back and forth, and that was a question I asked you, because we've been having this conversation about me, and you were like, you got a book in you, and
you do.
A lot of people feel like, some people, like, I've never felt that way, but a lot of people do feel like I have a book in me, but I just don't know what to write about. I feel like I want to write, but I don't know what to write about. What do you say to that person that says, I feel like it's in me, but I don't know. I just don't know.
Start writing. The only way you know is to start writing. That's the only, so back to that 1,000 words, that's the only way you know. There'll be days that you can go beyond 1,000 words, and people think that's a lot of, no, you can do a blog post. When you're doing a blog post, people can look up and they're already at 1,000 words. Blog post is typically 250 to 300 words, but there's many people who write 800, 900 words. So if you just take even a week's worth of blog posts, that's possibly 5,000 words.
Oh, wow.
So see how quick it adds up. And a good book is anywhere, depending upon the size of the book, a good book is anywhere from 24,000 words to maybe 30,000 words.
Gotcha.
And that may sound like that's a lot. It's not a lot.
Wow.
Not a lot. You know, if you're doing 5,000 a week, 4 weeks, that's 20,000.
Yeah.
And then once you add your bio, once you add the
Yeah.
introduction, once you add everything else, those numbers will grow. But
Right.
you can write about anything. The question is, do you have the audience to follow you?
Got
And
it.
there's people who try to launch books out there, but if no one knows you and you don't have a following, that's hard. Because after you sell to your family and friends, then what?
Right. So
Um,
you basically have to have, even if you, because I what I when I hear you say that, I hear someone saying, "Oh wow, that kind of crushes my dreams." So what would you say to that person who, if they don't have a following, what do you do? Because you don't want to crush that.
right,
I want you to get this book out because you've got it in you. So now
right,
we've got it out, but you don't have anybody following you. How do they get it out there?
right. Social media is key. Between and Facebook, okay, fine, whatever. But what's key is Instagram and Twitter.
Gotcha. Forgetting.
Instagram and Twitter. To just get out there, and not even Pinterest. I'm talking Instagram and Twitter.
Gotcha.
Just start dialoguing, start a blog. And when you're posting on your blog, again, 250 to 300 words. When you're posting on your blog, tag it to your social media. And
Mm,
what you want people to do is to engage, and you want organic followers, and which means you have to use the hashtags.
right. Right.
You have to use the hashtags. You have to tag people. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, everyone, and it's not the lip color I have on today, but everyone was talking about the lip color I had on News in Motion, which was I think it's called Vampy Violet or something from Elf. And everybody was asking. So I tagged Elf, but I went to Elf's Instagram page to look at all the hashtags they use. And
Gotcha.
they had probably about 9 of them. So I tagged them and I used the same hashtags they use. Elf sent an email. And right there, they put it back out there. So now I'm with all their followers, and their followers started following me.
Gotcha.
So know what it is. So if you're doing something, let's say with home, with interior designing, that's a hashtag, interior designing. Interior is another word. Designing is another word. House is another word. Home is
Right.
another word. Start doing that, because hashtags, people click on those hashtags.
Mhm.
They'll look to see what's trending. They'll click on that. If they see that you're always writing about that, they're going to start following you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So you want, and here's the other thing that so many people shy away from: engagement. I can post, but is there any engagement behind that?
Yeah.
And you want engagement as well. There will be people who will say, well, I'm going to start a blog, or I'm going to start social media, but I'm going to sell. That will turn everybody off.
Yeah.
Talk about what you're going to talk about.
Right.
Build that up. Let people know that you know what it is you're talking about. Use the proper hashtags and people will start following you. So yes, you can write about anything, but you do want to grow. And please, please, please do not pay for followers. Do not pay for followers. Have organic followers.
Yeah.
People that you can have an engagement with.
That's a good strategy. I never would have thought about that, but I see how that can help someone, because when you're talking about your book and you're talking about the things that you're going to be writing about, now you're getting interest, and when people start following you, when you're ready for that book to come out, now
Yep.
the people are looking for your book.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
so when people come to you and say, "Hey, I just need some help with getting this together," tell us a couple of things that you do where you help people that want to, when you do your consulting, when you're helping people to
Mhm.
write their book. What types of things do you help people with?
I'm making sure that using that, I make sure they have that book strategy. I call it book mapping strategy. And we do that with post-it notes. We do it old school. We don't do it on the computer, because I want that to be a visual that's in their office or their space that they're writing, to make sure they're following that. So I'm helping them flesh that out. I'm always wanting to know, what is your premise? What's the synopsis? Let me read that. If it doesn't make sense, I tell them. I tell people every time I meet with them, I'm like, I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm here to help you sell a book. I'm here to help you get your name out.
Yeah.
So there's times I'm not going to be nice in this. And so if you could never handle your school teacher with the red marker, then this is not for you. You cannot be faint at heart with this. It's not for you. So when they send that, it's like I'm reading through like the first, either the premise or their synopsis or the first one or two chapters. And I have tracking on, and I'm asking questions. Well, how did you just insert this person? Where did they come from? What's their background? Why are they significant? Let's talk about this, fleshing this out more. So it's looking at that. That's called manuscript analysis. A lot of people skip that. You want people, if somebody's reading a book and they're into it, you never want that person to say, well, where'd they come from? How do we change gears here? So you flush that out on the head, on the front side of it. And the question would be, and I would ask your audience, how many times have you picked up a book and you put it down because you could not get a connection of what was happening, although you were loving it the first two chapters in, and all of a sudden somebody came in from the left and you're like, where'd this come from?
Right.
And because you don't have an answer, you're done with it.
Yeah.
Because you really can't continue reading until you get that question answered. Does that make sense?
You help people structure everything.
We structure it. We look at how to position it. We look at how we can do radio pitches and podcast pitches. We look at the whole Amazon. How do we flush that out with your bio? We go from A to Z. I'm constantly helping that person build. Yeah. So often people are just focused on the manuscript, but there's so much more a part of publishing a book than just writing a manuscript. Because after you've written, what?
Yeah, it sounds to me like anybody who's wanting to write a book really, truly could use your services to help kind of direct them and guide them, especially someone who maybe has never written a book before or even written a blog. Because I know for me, I've done blog posts, but I would like to have that direction and somebody saying, okay, here's what you do. And then having that second eye looking at your reading sounds like, that's super important. I want to talk to you about your news in motion because I don't get up early. I mean, I'll be up, but like I miss it and I gotta get to it. Now, a couple times I've seen it and you are on fire. So really quickly, we have 2 minutes left. So I want you to tell people, because I really want people to check you out on News in Motion, because I've seen, like I said, I've seen 2, and girl, you talk about some stuff. How did that come about? Real quickly,
okay.
How did News in Motion come about? And talk to us about it. And tell people why they need to watch you.
You want me to do that in 2 minutes? Come on, girl. Okay, let me see.
Yeah, come on now. Imagine that you're helping somebody like with their book writing, right? You want to scale some stuff down.
All right, real quick. I love politics. I actually always wanted to either be an attorney or a lobbyist. And I never went the route of an attorney because I'm a horrible test taker and I never thought I was going to pass the bar. But I'm rethinking that. That's a side note. But anyway, a friend of mine, I was on a conversation on the phone. A friend of mine said, you light up when you talk about politics and news. And I said, oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And they said, you should do something, do a Facebook Live, do something. And I blew them off. And then like for the past 5 years, they keep doing it. So all of a sudden it was the Monday after Father's Day. We were on a conversation on Father's Day and they said, Gail, you should really do it. Just do it. So that Monday I said, I'm gonna just jump up and do like a 5-minute rundown of news. Well, I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I loved it. I loved the research. I loved everything. So I did it again the next day. Now we are over 150 episodes in. The family has grown. People have been following it, coming on at 7:25 a.m. They even have alerts for it. I look for news that maybe you don't receive on the national news. I actually have a White House press pool pass where we get information constantly. And so I have a team of people. I have 5 millennials working with me and they're always feeding me news. We're looking for things, we're digging, we're researching, we're seeing what it looks like, and I'm putting it out there. Now, of course, we talk about the election. We talk about the impeachment, what's happening, all of those things. So to give you an example, we do That's Happening Tuesday. And so on That's Happening Tuesday is a quick rundown of different headlines. And again, it's relevant commentary with a mix with a call to action and a mix with the inspirational message. So we break it up where I'm giving news and I'm digging deep. I'm sharing some things. Some things you may know, some things you may not know. There are a lot of people who say that they now watch only News in Motion over their local news or over the national news. Now that's a lot of weight to carry, but people are saying that. They're saying that that inspirational message that I do at the end gets them through their day. I've had people say, I don't sit down and watch you. I'm getting dressed while I hear you. They're laughing, they're crying. I feed off of the people feed off of me. In addition to that, with the food insecurity piece of it,
yeah,
we now are in a partnership with Aldi's. We have given away all kinds of food for the food insecure. We're talking about the evictions. We help people with their rent. That is what we do. So I'm giving news, but then that call to action, I'm calling people to take action. And from that, we get that inspirational message and we go. Why should they watch it? Because what I'm hearing is that people loving it. I mean, we have people in all 50 United States that are tuning in, and you don't have to watch at 7:25. You can hit the replay.
yeah.
Because we have people from California that's watching it when they wake up. It's now on YouTube as a replay on YouTube.
Gotcha.
And we're also, people call in from Zimbabwe, from Brazil, from Germany, from Israel. It's just taking off. So I'm loving it. It's my passion. I love it.
Well, we went over, of course, but that's okay because I wanted people, because like I said, I watched those 2 episodes and I thought it was amazing what you were doing. And I really want to push people towards watching your News in Motion. So Gail, if people want to reach you,
yes,
what's the best way? Now I'm going to have just so y'all know, I'm going to have all of her information. So she may just give one piece of information, but I will have everything in the description of this post. So if people want to reach you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
The best way is probably direct email, which is info.gaildudley@gmail.com. Or they can do the contact form from gaildudley.com. So, but the best way is the info.gaildudley@gmail.com.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you forever. I could. Thank y'all so much for watching. I appreciate y'all. Go check out News in Motion. Call Gail Dudley if you are even thinking about writing a book. Holler at her. I will see y'all on the next time. Bye.